Hartglass, and you're listening to It's All About Food. Thank you for joining me. I am in the Progressive Radio Network studio today. I'm actually pre-recording this program, and you'll hear it on Tuesday, January 15th, or whenever you decide to listen to it. And I thank you for that. We're going to be talking a bit about lifestyle medicine today. And I want to bring on my first guest, who actually has come into the studio all the way from Missouri. We're both talking today because we're going to attend a screening later this evening of a documentary called Code Blue. And you may remember I talked about that documentary over a year ago when I interviewed Dr. Suresh Stancic. And it's actually completed now, this project, and we're all very excited to see it. It's a private screening tonight, and then the documentary will be available for all of you to see. And I know it's going to be wonderful, but we'll talk more about that after I see it. Right now, I want to bring on Dr. Oruwari, like February,
yes.
because she's in the film. And that's why she's here. She's part of Mercy Clinic and is a surgical oncologist. She's a board certified by the American Board of Surgery and attended New Jersey Medical School, had a residency at University of Medicine in Dentistry, New Jersey, and a fellowship at Hasbro Hospital. Mercy Clinic is a multi-specialty physician-led group affiliated with Mercy Hospitals in St. Louis, Washington, Missouri, and Crystal City, Missouri. Welcome to It's All About Food.
Thank you. Pleasure to be back in New York City.
Yeah. So your specialty is?
I'm a breast cancer surgeon.
Breast cancer surgeon.
Yes.
Now, why did you want to be a breast cancer surgeon?
Ooh, $1 million question. Life kind of led me this way. You know, I went into medical school wanting to be a gynecologist. And somewhere along that path, I decided I did not like gynecology. I really loved being in the operating room and doing surgery. And then I had to make a decision what type of surgeon I wanted to be. And I met a woman who did breast surgery for a living at St. Barnabas Hospital in New Jersey. You know, I kind of shadowed her for a while, and I realized that this is really, really what I want to do. I get to help women, so do some women's health and get to do surgery. So kind of mixed up the two.
Well, I think we certainly want surgeons who are passionate about what they do. And it always fascinates me. I ask any doctor that I go to, for example, I recently had a colonoscopy. I didn't want to have one, but after 11 years, my primary care physician said, you know, come on, you got to do it. And I did it. And then I asked the gastroenterologist, I asked her, why did you want to be? I mean, basically, I wanted to say, why do you want to do colonoscopy?
Right.
But she was like so excited about what it was she was involved with. And that's what matters, actually.
For sure. That is what matters.
But breast cancer surgery is a scary thing for women that are going through it. Cancer is that big C word, is the scary message you get sometimes.
It is.
I had ovarian cancer.
Okay, so you're familiar then, yes.
I've been there and back. But there's a part of your practice that isn't surgery related, like some of the prescriptions you might fill or are related to food. Are they not?
Well, it's not necessarily prescriptions.
Not a prescription.
Right. More of what we teach the patients and tell them to do. You know, we all know that breast cancer is one of the leading causes of cancer-related death amongst women. And we are finding out more and more that a lot of what causes breast cancer has to do with our lifestyle choices, what we're eating, how we're moving. So, you know, I've known this for a while, but I never really incorporated that into my practice until Dr. Stancic started doing more and more with lifestyle medicine and preventative medicine. And it really got me to thinking a lot about, you know, what are these women putting in their bodies? What are we all putting in our bodies, and how are we moving? And did a lot more reading and search on it, and it's also intermingled and related. So yes, you can say I prescribe movement and healthy eating to my patients.
Okay, I did not know that Dr. Stancic was your inspiration.
She is.
So let's talk about how that happened. Were you working with her, or how did you meet her, and how did you...
Dr. Stancic and I went to medical school together.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm.
So we've known each other for many, many, many years. Have been friends for many years. And some of what drove her to do her research and go into production for the film is personal, which I'm sure she'll talk about. So I would talk about that for her.
You know, we can actually. I've interviewed her.
Okay.
So if my listeners have been listening for over a year, she had multiple sclerosis.
She did.
So you knew her when that was going on.
She was the maid of honor in my wedding.
Oh.
And this happened a week after my wedding. I was still on my honeymoon when I came home to see she had been admitted into the hospital. Mm. So this has been kind of a battle she's been going through for the past 20 plus years. And to finally have it lead her to her true calling, her path in life is amazing. And to see how she's influenced so many of us physicians who were not used to thinking in that way is really, really pretty special. So I have her to thank for that.
It's always fascinating how something that appears to be really terrible can bring so much good.
For sure.
And not only did it bring her true calling, but she got her life back.
She did. She did. Amazingly. I mean, if anybody does not believe that food and exercise or diet and exercise has a lot to do with our health, they should just listen to her story, watch the film.
Okay, so you witnessed all of this happening, and then you incorporated it into your own practice. I did.
And there's no true prescription that I can write to a patient and say, do this, do that. A lot of it is choice. All I can do is educate my patients and say, this is really important. You need to eat this, that. You need to move certain number of times a week. It's going to decrease your risk of the breast cancer recurring. And some people do accept that message and make a total lifestyle change, and some people don't. But all I can do is, as part of a physician, as part of being a physician, when you're sworn to be a doctor, you swear to do no harm. So part of my message is educating to do no harm, to try to improve the quality of lives of people that I treat.
I think we're trying to reach some sort of tipping point in our culture where it's really understood that nutrition and lifestyle, exercise, plant foods, and eliminating the foods that don't get us good health. I think we're reaching this understanding, and then the masses will kind of go with it. But it's important to have the medical doctors on board, or at least a handful of them.
For sure.
I know that I mentioned earlier I have been through advanced ovarian cancer, and I had to search for doctors that were somewhat on the same path as I was. I ended up going to chemotherapy at the Block Center outside of in Illinois, and Dr. Block promotes a plant-based diet, and it was lovely going to his clinic to go there where they had all the food. They had a little kitchen, and all the foods that I was used to eating, I felt at home there. Whereas in so many other clinical settings, you don't find that. And some doctors will actually tell you you're crazy. So this is very good. Now, I've read that a large percentage of breast cancer can be prevented.
That is what a lot of the research tell us, that a lot of it actually has to do with, all of these lifestyle modifications that we're talking about. So, yes, a good amount of it can be changed. I mean, there are some percentage that can't be changed, so genetic breast cancer, et cetera. But, yeah, a good amount of it. I think at least 30% or more of it can be preventable.
It's I would imagine that for a patient to have you tell them this information, in some ways you're giving them some power. You're giving them some control over their own bodies.
I think I am. Whether or not they choose to take that control is a whole other story.
Not everybody wants it. They just want the doctor. You to take care of it.
Just take care of it. Give me a pill. But sometimes it's not that easy.
Okay. So you were already practicing when you started incorporating this information. So what happened?
Nothing has happened.
Have you seen any benefits as a result?
Yes, absolutely. I've seen a bit. Unfortunately for me, a lot of the women that come to me already have had breast cancer. So what we then talk about is ways to incorporate all these lifestyle changes to decrease the risk of recurrence, because the data is there that it does decrease the risk of recurrence. So a lot of women do take that to heart and make those changes that we talk about. And, they come see me 5, 10, 15 years later and they're doing fine. So those are some of the changes I've seen. I've seen women who originally were overweight when I initially met them. They'll come back 2, 3 years later and they've lost a significant amount of weight. They are more active and they feel so much better, and that's, ultimately what it's all about. And all of these don't only decrease your risk of breast cancer, it decreases the risk of so many other cancers and so many other diseases, heart disease, diabetes,
Yeah, you just read my mind. It was where I was going. Yep, exactly. It's a win-win all around. Has this affected your personal life with what you and your family eat?
It has, for sure. So the full disclosure, I'm not vegan, but I'm probably 90%, I'll say, plant-based. I have not convinced my husband yet, because unfortunately for my husband, he's got a lot of allergies to fruits and vegetables, so there's not too much of that he can eat. So he still eats quite a bit of meat. My 18-year-old son was vegan for about a year and a half. Now he's mostly vegetarian. He just couldn't do without the dairy. But, he did this from 16 to about 17 and a half, which is huge for a young person. But, he was he's a very cerebral kid, and he read a lot about it, and he learned a lot on his own, and he would make his own meals. And, so it has definitely affected me personally. I'm all about living healthy and living your best life, and part of that is incorporating these lifestyle changes.
Now, what about where you work? Are they aware of what you're doing and what you're preaching, and how do they feel about it?
I haven't had anybody reprimand me. So, I'm not telling patients to do holistic medicine or unapproved medical therapy. They're still going through chemo and doing the surgery and all of the standard of care type things that we recommend. So nothing that I'm recommending is out of the realm of what you would recommend to anyone who's been through any type of illness. So no, I have not been reprimanded, and I think a lot of physicians are headed that way in what they recommend to patients, because there's definitely a benefit.
Absolutely, especially if you're going through surgery. If you're on a healthy diet, you're going to do better in surgery.
Absolutely.
And if you do have to have chemo, you're going to have less side effects and do better if you are on a healthy diet. I know. I've been there.
Very true.
I had my surgeon. I didn't know I had ovarian cancer when I went in for my first surgery out of 3. But my first surgeon, after surgery, and he took out this giant tumor. He said, "You're so clean inside. What are you doing?" Okay, so I had this tumor. But everything else was nice and pink and healthy.
Good.
And I know that's because of the food I was eating.
Right.
Okay, I had some toxic exposures, and I don't want to go into that right now, but I've talked about it way too much. But there's no reason not to eat a healthy plant-based diet. So are there specific foods that you recommend your patients eat?
Nothing specific. I don't like to limit people. I like people to kind of do their own research and make their own choices. So I speak a lot in general terms, and I say the closer to plant-based you can get, the better. So incorporate a lot more fruits and vegetables. And something Dr. Stancic taught me, she said, when you look at your dinner plate, it should be about 75% colorful. So it should have lots of nice greens and reds, because those are the plant-based. And if you still want to do the proteins and the meats, it should be just a little portion of that. So that's what I tell the women that I see to help guide them, because it is hard. It's hard to switch.
It's hard to change the mindset.
It is. It really is. So you can't go from being a meat-fed Missourian to plant-based overnight.
Some people can, but not everyone.
No, it's hard. I mean, even for me, it's hard. So I think it's little steps, and some people do achieve that eventually. Some people get to about 50, 60%, and that's way better than 100% meat.
Now, in your hospital, there's a cafeteria?
Yes, there is.
And are there things to eat there?
I think there are. You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you that I have never stepped foot in the cafeteria at the hospital. Really, I've never stepped foot in
you're
there.
probably very busy, but I would recommend that you do. And maybe if you find that it's not ideal, you might connect them with
absolutely
some resources to make it better, because it's kind of I don't know, it's a strange thing. You go into a hospital to get well, and for a long time now it's changing slowly. But the food served there is poison.
Right.
Foods that cause cancer, they're giving to cancer patients.
We have a Burger King in our medical school in Newark.
That should be illegal.
And it's Dr. Stancic's lifelong goal to get rid of that Burger King. I think she's written to everyone, to the president of the hospital, and it's a money-making machine. It's all about.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
That's what
so
it's all
what about that do no harm?
I know. I know. People forget that when money is involved, I guess.
So how do you feel about soy foods?
I have nothing against soy food, but I do counsel my patients that have been through breast cancer to be careful the amount of soy they consume, just because of a lot of the similarities to estrogen. So you want to limit the amount of soy if you've had breast cancer.
Yeah, I'm just curious because a lot of people have fears. I know someone whose doctor told her never have soy again. And there's actually a lot of research now that shows that women who consume soy have lower risk and lower risk of recurrence. And even the very conservative American Cancer Society recommends eating. But, we shouldn't eat too much of anything.
Exactly. So too much of anything is not good. I mean, I drink soy milk.
As long as it's organic
Right.
and minimally processed.
No data about organic versus non-organic as far as the benefits, but I see where you're going with that.
Yeah,
yes.
well, we don't promote genetically modified foods here, and not necessarily.
Right, no, I understand.
There's not enough data to know if GMOs are safe or not,
Right.
but there's so many other things that are wrong with GMOs, the way they, the type of farming that they encourage, which is so detrimental on the environment.
Absolutely.
This thing about health and what we do with our bodies, not just for women and their breasts, but the whole body, it's connected to everything. What we eat is connected not only to our own health, but the health of the environment. Everything is connected.
Yes.
No matter how hard the medical system has tried to separate and make specialties of everything, everything is all connected. Okay, so maybe the food could be better at your hospital, but you don't know.
I'm sure it could be better. I'm sure it could be. But it's not. This is something I should look into. I haven't actually looked into that, but I'm sure you're 100% right. There's probably all sorts of things that are not good for our cardiac patients eating out of the cafeteria.
Well, it's frustrating when you're a patient, and especially if you're a patient who is slightly aware of the importance of eating healthy. And maybe one of your patients has, had surgery and you've told her to eat better, and then, what's available in the hospital. It's frustrating. Okay, so that's your assignment.
That's my assignment. Okay, I'm up to task, yes. I'll do that.
Well, you'll have copies of Code Blue, I guess, so you'll be able to distribute them.
Trust me, I will.
That's awesome. When you were in medical school, did they teach anything about nutrition?
Of course not. Of course not. No.
And are you doing any of that in addition to your practice, doing any types of speaking on nutrition?
I am, actually. Probably for the past couple of years, all the talks I've given, 'cause I do a lot of local talks to churches, women's groups, etc. The past couple of years has all been all about preventative health and lifestyle changes to help decrease the risk of breast cancer. So I'm definitely incorporating that into teaching.
Yeah, I think people are learning a little bit more that the how is as important as the why.
Yes.
Because some people will be told, you need to eat more plants, and they just don't know how.
They don't know how, right.
So you're probably aware that our Brooklyn Borough president, Eric Adams, has made plant-based education his number one priority, which is so exciting.
That's fantastic.
And now Bellevue Hospital has this pilot program, so they're teaching people how.
Yes.
Which
right. That's really fantastic.
Is I think for many people essential. Yeah. Some people have a mindset, they know what they're doing in the kitchen. Right. Okay, I'll less of this, more of this, and they're fine. But some people, they just don't have it.
The way I look at all this is similar to smoking. It took the healthcare systems a long time to realize that yes, smoking is bad for us, and yes, doctors should not be smoking in the hospital. Patients should not be smoking in the hospital. What are we doing? This causes diseases.
Yeah.
I remember as a medical student, patients actually smoking in the rooms. I mean, this was the norm, and then gradually you don't see that at all. I mean, now you hardly see people smoke at restaurants. So I think this is going to be
like that. It just takes a long time.
It takes a long time. All of a sudden, people kind of come on board and realize that, what are we doing? We need to be more plant-based. We need to get the fast food restaurants out of the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned before with the Burger King, though. There's that profit behind it, and a lot of people are making money.
Well, same with smoking, though.
Yeah, that's my point. A lot of people are making money with the cigarettes, and they really fought anything that would help people stop.
Right.
And unfortunately, some people still smoke.
Some people still do, and you're not going to make everybody become plant-based.
And, we have medical marijuana. We have marijuana now, and I think Missouri's getting open to allowing medical marijuana.
Passed at the last election, yes.
And which is interesting. I'm all for medical marijuana, but the thing is, I've noticed walking down the street in some places, I'm smelling pot.
Oh, really?
And I don't find it a pleasant smell, and I don't want to breathe it in,
actually. No.
So it's all, you do one good thing, and it opens up all these other challenges.
It opens up other things.
What about your colleagues at the hospital where you work? They know what you're doing. Are they interested, or?
I think the way physicians practice is just a very individualized thing, beyond the standard of care. Things that are not standard of care just really depends on your interest, and if they become interested, yes, I'll be more than happy to talk to them about it. But yeah, I think they're aware that I talk to a lot of my patients about diet and exercise, and that's my whole platform. I'm on Instagram talking about it all the time, so that they are aware. And I think.
Do they ever send you patients who are asking for information? I remember consulting at Memorial Sloan Kettering and talking to this oncologist, and I really didn't care for him at all. And then I was saying, but come on, let's talk about diet. And he really didn't think it had any influence on anything. And I said, okay, can I talk to somebody who, does? And they had a whole nother department. He said, well, okay, you can go and see this person.
Sure.
They don't think of Dr. Oruwari as the go talk to her about food.
No, we don't. No, we don't collaborate in that way. But we have nutritionists in the hospital that we do send out patients to. So,
and is the nutritionist on board with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So are you looking forward to tonight?
I am so excited. I'm so excited. She's worked so hard on this, and I know it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know how often you come to New York, but you were in school in New Jersey?
My family is all in New York and New Jersey.
So do you have any plans to eat anywhere wonderful while you're here?
I haven't even thought about it. I'm going to meet up with my sister actually she's coming to the film with me, so I don't know what we're doing afterwards.
Okay, well, right down the street is Beyond Sushi between 7th and 6th Avenue on 37th Street.
Okay.
It's vegan.
Okay.
And it's really fantastic. I just had soup there.
Did you? Okay. Oh, we'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's an experience. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for joining me on It's All About Food.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to hear more about you and your story in the film tonight.
Thank you. I think I'll just say a little snippet of the film. The film is way bigger than me. But I am so excited to be part of it.
I'm Karen Hartglass. You're listening to It's All About Food, and my first guest has been Dr. Oruwari. And we'll be back for the second part of the show in a moment.
Hey, it's Jesse, PRN Station Manager. I have an exciting announcement for our amazing listeners. PRN has a new voicemail line that will allow you to connect better with our hosts. If you can't listen live but have a question or comment for one of our hosts, just call 862-800-6805. That's 862-800-6805. This feature will allow your voice to be heard on your favorite PRN show.
Thank you for listening to the Progressive Radio Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Hartglass, and you are listening to It's All About Food. I'm actually up in the Bronx at the Montefiore Medical Center. It's a huge campus here. We're going to hear a lot more about it. And I'm here with Dr. Robert Ostfeld. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be with you, and I'm so excited to get the chance to talk with you and your listeners.
Thank you. Well, I've been wanting to talk to you for a very long time. So, as my listeners know, I've been a vegan for over 30 years. And there was a buzz, 5+ years ago when people started saying, there's Dr. Robert Ostfeld. Have you heard about him? Have you heard about him? He's up in the Bronx. He's amazing. And I've wanted to talk to you one-on-one ever since, so I finally got that opportunity.
Oh, well, thank you. You're very generous. And, it's 30 years. That's phenomenal. First of all, I never would have guessed that you could have been anything for 30 years.
Oh, thank you.
But, it's cool to be able to bring it here to the Bronx, a plant-based diet, where, it's not necessarily on the radar as much as it is in other places.
In other boroughs of New York.
Yeah, like literally 2 miles away.
Exactly.
Like places you could peg with a baseball from here. It's like...
My parents were born and raised in the Bronx, and I rarely come up here, but it's kind of nice to know that you're here now.
It's not as far as North Dakota, so yeah.
Okay, I want to focus primarily on what you're doing here. So you have this wellness center. What do you call it, and what do you do?
Well, so I'm a cardiologist, and we have what we call our cardiac wellness program, and the goal of the program is to prevent and reverse disease with a plant-based diet. And I say disease, not just heart disease, because of course we know that a plant-based diet is good for your heart and other cardiovascular issues, but it's good for you for dozens and dozens of other reasons. So that's the goal, to prevent and reverse disease with a plant-based diet. And within that program, we have a number of different arms. We've been around now for about 7-ish years, and it's grown organically, if you will. And we have a clinical arm with both an inpatient and an outpatient program, which I'll be happy to talk about. We've got a educational arm and a research arm as well.
Well, you probably know this. Our medical system for a long time has been separating all of the different parts of the body and all the specialists, but the body is integrated and it works together. The head bone's connected to the, all of that.
What do you mean? The heart's totally separate. Come on.
So, yeah, one thing affects everything else, and this healthy plant diet and lifestyle benefits everything.
Well, I mean, I totally 100% agree. We're like ridiculously siloized. Like, is that even a word? Probably not. But like, there's just so many silos. Like, the pulmonologists live in the lung silo and the cardiologists live in the heart silo. And we all have like different rounds and different journals that we almost never see. It's really, we're all under the same umbrella, but with lots of silos underneath. And it's great to see things like the plant-based diet and other various initiatives that are, of course, breaking down these silos.
I'm using that word, siloized.
Okay.
Whether it's real or not, it is now.
All right. Let's call Webster's.
And you started it. I like it. Okay, so you're part of the Montefiore, is that how we say it?
Yeah, Montefiore.
Montefiore, and it's huge. It's like 5 hospitals or something?
Even more. It just keeps on growing. I mean, it's like going through puberty or something. And but it's a huge system. So we're kind of at the mothership, the Montefiore Moses. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's definitely like Star Trek. And so the USS Montefiore Enterprise so we're here in the Bronx, and that's sort of the mothership. But it's a system with like 11 or 12 hospitals.
Wow.
And some of them are like rehab facilities and all sorts of various iterations in between, the most complex quaternary care and primary care and everything in between. So it's really an honor to be a part of this incredible system. It has a medical school. It owns the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, which has about 175 medical students each year in its class, teaches tons and tons of residents, fellows. I mean, it's probably, I don't know, that I haven't looked at these numbers in years, but at some point it was like training the 3rd or 4th most number of residents in the U.S. Like, I honestly don't know exactly what that number is now, but there are tons of them, which is great. It's the #1 employer in the Bronx, the Montefiore Health System, and its hospitals stretch up into Westchester and Nyack counties as well.
So I'm really curious about you being a part of this system and how they feel about you here and what your influence is on everyone else in the system.
Well, thank you.
Like the surgeons doing angioplasties and stents.
Right. Well, our goal really is to put cardiologists out of business. And I'll just tell the administrative people to retrospectively put on earmuffs for like 10 seconds before that. But retrospectively, well, anyway, earmuffs. So, it's really been an incredible journey. And the system has been quite embracing of this program. And of course, lots of people recognize how lifestyle changes are going to profoundly improve the health of patients and everybody.
That wasn't recognized for a long time.
It is.
But it's being recognized more now.
You're certainly right. And, it's sort of a blight to my profession. I mean, it's an embarrassment, honestly, that we do not more fully embrace this. And if you look at pretty much any guideline, like the guidelines are these really long documents that advise us how to clinically practice, take care of patients. And they have it for high blood pressure, and they have it for cholesterol, and they have it for fill in the blank thing, and maybe they even have it for bad hair days. I don't even know. But there's like a bazillion of them. But they all start with healthy lifestyle. Healthy lifestyle is like it's like a rubber stamp first paragraph. Healthy lifestyle. Okay, now we're going to spend the next 115 pages talking about nuances of medications. But I mean, every single one of them starts with a healthier lifestyle. So we just haven't embraced it as much as we should have. But with our program, the times are changing here, and so by that I mean more and more people are learning about plant-based nutrition. So I don't think it's necessarily just our program that's helped shift our medical system. Lots of people are hearing about it from lots of directions. But over the years, the conversation in our system has totally changed to like, what are you talking about? What is this? To like, oh, wow, I want to learn more about it. How do we help our patients do it more? I have surgeons referring patients to me to try to help them get better. Patients are reaching out to us, getting like ear, nose, and throat. A group that you wouldn't necessarily automatically think is interested in plant-based nutrition, they invited me to give grand rounds internally to them. The OBGYN group, the family medicine group, internal medicine group, cardiology group, and on it goes. So we've really been part of shifting the conversation to much more plant-based nutrition. And that's woven into our cafeterias. So the food system, they're so great. The food system here with Chris Trivlis, and they're just amazing. And so we've developed plant-based meals for inpatients that you can order. Now, you don't have to, but you can. I'll dive into that a little more later. But also, those meals are available in the hospital cafeterias. So anyone who comes to the Montefiore system can eat them. And, I'm told that they sell out. And Montefiore has been Meatless Mondays for a while. A couple years, I think. And I don't think it got a lot of attention, but it's been Meatless Mondays for about 2 years. And that's been cool, too. I'd recommend any system to do that because that is also a conversation changer.
Does that mean on Mondays they don't serve meat?
They don't serve meat. I mean,
the patients or the...
It's not for patients, but it's in the So for patients, you can order the plant-based meals, but it's in the cafeterias. And that's a conversation changer among this and culture changer among the staff. Because the first day they're like, who are you to tell us what to eat? And, like, where am I going to get my protein? Like the usual nonsense. But like a month later, like, oh, it's Meatless Mondays, no big deal. So it's like it totally changes the conversation internally too. So that's great.
That is great. Now, I know some of the reasons why it's taken so long to get to this point. And I really believe that most people, when they become medical doctors, they want to do good. They want to help people. I really feel that that's a genuine incentive. And then things happen. But I did hear that you were motivated by the China study, reading Dr. T. Colin Campbell's book, The China Study. And not only does that talk about the impact of plant foods on health, but he also talked about all the bureaucracy and all the red tape and all the things he tried to get approved and pushed through, and it was pushback at every step of the way. So that's a great part of why we're moving so slowly. The government doesn't support the educational system, and then there are the lobbyists and people that are pushing unhealthy foods on us for so long.
I totally agree. I mean, we all stand on the shoulders of these incredible doctors who have helped further the science and kind of popular culture, if you will, like Dr. Colin Campbell and Caldwell Esselstyn and Neil Barnard and Dean Ornish, and the list goes on. I apologize, I know I'm forgetting some names right now. But so they've done amazing things, and they continue to do amazing things. But there are some major headwinds. Just like you outlined, there are very powerful, entrenched fiscal interests whose livelihood would be negatively impacted if we adopted plant-based nutrition. And you'd like to think that people generally like to do the right thing, and I agree with you. The physicians go into medicine to help people. I mean, it is a long, hard road, and they go into it to help people. They could do all kinds of other things, but that's really the goal. But I'm not talking about them as the major headwinds. They're, pretty much always allies. They may have to learn about plant-based nutrition because they're not exposed to it, and doctors, I think, in general, are conservative and slow to change. But I do think they do and will. But those headwinds it's hard. I mean, so what I mean, things like the Farm Bill, for example, that subsidizes animal agribusiness to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. That's a big headwind. And the food industry, that's a big headwind. And it's pretty hard to get through an Iowa primary if you're plant-based. So it's there are some serious headwinds, but what I think is really encouraging is I think we're about a half a generation away from major change. Because I don't see it from the old people like me. I see it much more from like the medical students now. Because for the last 5 years here, I've given a talk to the medical students that's part of the required curriculum. and it's about prevention, and it's largely about plant-based diet. And as the years have gone by, more and more of them know about it, asking about it. It's just part of their general knowledge base. So it's not like out of left field. I'm just sort of reinforcing what they already heard. So I think we're about a half a generation away from seismic change.
I love that. And I'm glad to know that's happening. I see it all around me also. Okay, so how does a patient know to come here, find you, and then what do you do with them?
Right. So, patients can, we have a website, which is like www.montefiore.org/cardiac wellness program, like super easy to remember, obviously not. And they could just also call the office 718-920-5197 and schedule a visit, or they can go on the Montefiore website and find me. So there's lots of ways to find us, not the easiest in the world, but so what happens is people get an appointment to see me, and so if they're coming for, well, I weave wellness into every visit, but people come to me in two general buckets, one for wellness stuff, and one just because they somehow need a cardiologist and they wind up at my door for all sorts of reasons. And that's a interesting group when I start discussing the plant-based diet with them, and we can circle back to that. But if you're interested in the plant-based stuff, they just give us a call, and they come and see me, and we go through the usual stuff, history, physical, all that stuff, go through the medications, various whatever issues you may be having, and then we weave plant-based nutrition into every visit. Talk about how it might impact whatever medical issues they're having, how it would make them healthier, how it may help them achieve whatever particular goals that person might have, whether it's to get off medications or feel better or avoid bypass surgery if it's medically appropriate. I mean, we obviously practice appropriate medical care, but there's some times when that might be a good option. So so we'll do that, and I have very specific handouts I give people with guardrails, like I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then what I'll do is we have these Saturday morning sessions that are 4 hours long, where I speak, a nutritionist speaks. We serve lunch. Her name's Lauren Graff. We serve lunch. We don't charge patients for the session, fund it all through donations, because I want to really democratize this information as much as possible. And a lot of the patients who will come to see me, 85% of the patients from the Bronx who come to the Montefiore system are on some degree of public support. So, if we charged even $20 for one of these Saturday morning sessions, that
could be prohibitive.
Yeah, it would exclude a lot of people. So I don't want to do that. So that's why we fund it all through donations. So we ask them to come with a friend or significant other to sort of help them along the path. And then I'll follow up with them over time. Sometimes I'll have them come back every 6 to 8 weeks for like a weight or blood pressure check or something. And it's more really for accountability than anything else. And that's generally what we'll do, and we'll follow them over time. So that's our outpatient program in a nutshell. And we've been doing that for 6-7 years now.
Most people think that medical doctors are like God. And we need to hear this information from medical doctors. For some reason, many people don't respond the same way if their friend tells them, or a family member tells them, or a dietitian tells them. We want to hear a medical doctor tell us, right?
Well, I make sure all my patients call me Zeus. That's really part of the requirement. I wasn't going to bring that up, but thank you for mentioning.
Okay. Now, when you start into this, are some people surprised? Do they push back?
Well, it varies.
Do they leave?
First of all, it's totally unfortunate that sometimes you just need to hear it from a doc. I've spoken to places and I've heard wonderful talks from, say, a non-physician, but maybe say it's from an RD or I don't know, someone completely equally or way more credible than a physician in the nutrition space. And they'll say, 1 + 1 is 2. I'd be like, oh, okay, 1 + 1 is 2. And then I'll go up and speak, and as part of my talk, I'll say 1 + 1 is 2.
Oh.
Ooh, 1 + 1 is 2. It's exactly the same thing. And they're even more credible than I am in this space. But at any rate, so there's that unfortunate I don't know exactly how that came to be, but
I'm just glad there are more doctors promoting a plant-based diet, and we need more of you because more people will listen.
so the pushback that I'll sometimes, the patients who seek us out specifically for the wellness program, they're usually starting on second base, so we don't really get much pushback. There may be little discussions about like oil or can I have fish once a week, or something like they're nibbling at the edges. But the patients who come to see me, which is probably at least half the patients who see me, who are just plugged into the Montefiore system, not part of wellness, not aware of this at all, but have chest pain, palpitations, some reason to come see a cardiologist. And they just wind up in my office. And I'll discuss plant-based nutrition with them. And a lot of times they will look at me like I'm from Mars. Like they've never, ever heard this before. And so, that can be a steep climb. And we work with them. I talk with them about, why I think it would be helpful for them. And for many of them, like, I don't ask some of them to go whole food, plant-based, minimal oil or no oil right away. Because to go from never ever having heard about it to that is not going to work for everybody. You got to pitch to your batter. So with our program, we've got different levels. So, we have 3 levels, but we'll titrate it however. And level 1 is whole food, plant-based, basically no oil. And level 3 incorporates some animal products. But I look at it as a stepping stone to helping us get further along the path. Because if, everyone's different, but I found, the all or none approach doesn't work for everybody. And if you push too hard, people will just totally tune you out. And hey, you don't want perfection to be the enemy of good. And anecdotally, for my patients who just tell me that they've gone 50% plant-based, there's something about that threshold where I start to see real overt clinical benefits, meaning like blood pressure starts to lower, cholesterol falls, they lose weight. It's that's the sort of, so, I don't want perfection to be the enemy of good.
Yeah, progress, not perfection. Okay. I'm here today. I've always wanted to interview you, but I'm here today specifically because tonight is a private screening of a new documentary called Code Blue. And I've had the opportunity to interview Dr. Stancic, who is awesome. And I understand you're in the film.
Yes. Now, most importantly, I hope I had a good hair day. But Dr. Stancic is a total rock star. She's phenomenal and is a force. And her personal health transformation change that she had with a plant-based diet and sort of dovetailing that to the system level change that she's been able to help make it. I think it's UMD&J where she is. Rutgers Medical School. They've changed names. I forget exactly what it's called now, but in New Jersey, it's just tremendous what she's accomplished. And this film, as you were talking about, called Code Blue, is a passion project for her, and she's worked on it for 4 years. This is not some major, industry film. It's her passion project. And so many people have completely bought into, and I don't mean in a fiscal way, I mean in an intellectual way, her incredible work, and have been honored to be a part of this. There's tons of amazing docs and leaders in this space who are part of this film, and I was totally honored that she reached out and wanted to include us. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. I don't know how much I'm in it. It could be 15 seconds, but I'm really honored to be a part of it. And I hope, I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and I hope it really takes off, because this is one of the key pillars of things we need to transform medical education. And many people are working on that, but this is the kind of thing that can scale the discussion of the need for this kind of change. It's one thing if 10 of us have conversations here or there. It's another thing if you could be hey, watch that film, and that just really can help scale the need for this kind of change.
Are you coming to the screening tonight?
I will be there.
Excellent. So maybe you'll get your wish and put all cardiologists out of business someday, that would be great, right?
Yeah.
So do you see film and theater as a next career?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's like funny. I get asked that all the time. And by all the time, I mean never. So, yeah, sure. I'll do that. And I took an improv class, which was
There you go.
phenomenally
You mentioned
awesome.
you were involved with theater in high school.
I was. I did a ton of
Did
theater.
anyone know that?
I did a ton of theater in high school. And they had like a pretty cool program where I went to Princeton Day School in, wait for it, Princeton, New Jersey, for high school. And so it was really fun. And we had all these musicals and these other dramas, I guess. And it was great. It was great bonding. It was great to hang out with my friends and do that stuff. And we just had a lot of fun.
Well, I'm just going to say that I think that it has helped you and maybe informed you to be a better doctor. Because I'll say why. Because theater helps us understand other people by taking a role and being someone else. And it also helps you with your stage presence around other people. Doctors generations ago have been notorious for not having very good bedside manner. And doctors are people.
Yeah, I usually sing Hello Dolly when I walk into a patient's room. It's weird that you knew that. So I think it has helped quite a bit. At least it makes my visit memorable. So, but yeah, I think you're, that's very generous of you, and to say those things. And I'm not sure that I've, absorbed those lessons as awesomely as others like yourself have. But hopefully it helps. And you're absolutely right. It's at the end of the day, it's sort of a one-on-one conversation with a person, and you kind of have to use your spidey sense to some degree to get a sense of where they are, or, for all kinds of things, like, is a patient going to be compliant with a certain medication? And that's highly relevant because maybe there's a procedure that you won't do if they won't be compliant with the medication, because if they don't take the medication, then that procedure could be very dangerous for them. But if they take it, it would be very helpful. So you really have to sort of use your mental abacus to assess that kind of thing. And yeah, I guess that empathy part is quite helpful.
Absolutely. One last question. Where do you go when you go out dining?
Oh.
Do you have some favorite?
There's so many great places. There's, where do I even start? There's Organic Grill on the Lower East Side, and they're rock stars. There are, of course, the Candles, which
we love the Candles.
Yes, that's just terrific. I love them. There's actually this great Italian restaurant, like a block and a half from my apartment. I go there all the time. It's called Il Violino, and they will make me steamed spinach and Brussels sprouts, like a mountain of them. And then they've got this like whole grain pasta that with just plain marinara sauce, like they tell me they don't put oil in it, and I just believe them.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not oil. But it's like a mountain of food. And the wine's good. So I really like that place a lot as well.
There you have it. A mountain of Brussels sprouts and spinach. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, nice. One other place, PS Kitchen, is great as well, which is like, I'm blanking on the exact address, but like kind of like 48th and 8th, something like that.
I think it's 46th.
Yeah.
It's right in the theater district, which is very convenient. Well,
Indeed.
Dr. Ostfeld, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you tonight at the screening. And thanks for doing the work that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I really hope that everybody goes and sees Code Blue.
Okay, let's do it. See Code Blue.